GM friends, thanks for joining DeFi-Logic's TA Tuesday every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. As a member of DeFi-Logic server, you can join our call every week, request chart reviews, and discuss the charts in real time. Check out the link in the video description. Today, we will review charts for FlashBot Token, MEVFREE, Euro, Cyber, Bitcoin ETH, crypto market cap without Bitcoin and ETH, and for legacy markets S&P 500, NASDAQ, DXY or US dollar index, and VIX, the US stock market volatility index. And with that, over to you, Eddie.
All right, so FBT, FlashBot Token. I know these bot tokens have been pretty hyped right now, and I think if you're not in this and you like it, this is a pretty good entry here, in my opinion, on the daily. So if we look at basically the same stuff I always look at, you have a launch, you create your high, you create your low, but it's a higher low, and then a higher high, and now we're making a higher low and testing previous all-time high close, right? So this is a really bullish signal right here. Probably I will buy some once we get off, as long as you guys say that there's some good news coming up on this, because that's basically exactly what we want to see. And we even have some low time frame invalidation here as well. So you could, instead of making like all-time lows, you could go something like this and say, okay, these are my lows. I know with these low caps, though, they can be kind of wicky. And obviously, you probably won't have a hard stop anyway, but there is a chance that it comes down here and like spikes this section again, because it has been untapped. It's an untapped demand right here. So just be careful of that. Maybe buy some now and then save some ammo if we hit this area, since we haven't tapped it. But this looks beautiful. I think this is a really good trade to be taking, and you'd want to see new highs, right? Probably pull out your fibs or whoever else you take profit on price discovery. Personally, I would probably take some here at the highs. Well, and take some profits here at these highs, though, and maybe into this wick as well. You want new highs too, for sure. So FBT, FlashBot Token, looks super good. Like I said, save some for demand if it does spike down.
Yeah, so the news on this one is that the dev put out this week that they will have the mixer completed soon as part of their services. Also, they're working on the revenue sharing contract. So they have several revenue sources that they're pulling from. The main use case for this is the smart contract deployer. So I think there's only like one other project in the space that's doing that right now. So essentially, you don't need a dev, and they take 0.5% buy tax, 0.5% sell tax for any tokens that are launched with the service. So pretty good use case, especially for shit coins.
Hearing that, if the FA is matching up with the TA, definitely a good buy here for sure. And even if you look at the risk reward, like we're aiming for like over 8R, like that's sick. You put in 1 Ethereum, and if you can pull out 8, not a bad trade at all. Okay, let's move on. The next one is MEVFREE. MEVFREE has a range of products and services, including an overlay dApp for Uniswap, and should be launching soon, but price action looks like a blow off. I have heard this token. This is a tough spot to buy in my opinion. And here's why. Honestly, it is a low cap, so they kind of do whatever they want to do. But right here, we have a structure break. And as you can see, we closed below it, and we came in and we tapped this like kind of daily order block demand type thing, and it gave another rejection, but now it's starting to find some support here as well too. So the reason why I'd say it's tough is because it's kind of giving conflicting signals. Like it is have higher highs and higher lows, and it's holding exactly where you want to see it hold to be bullish, but I just don't like that we had these closes below. So you could take a punt here on something with smaller risk than normal, because you would expect it with these types of coins to see some new highs. So something like that. It's just hard for me to buy into a structure that looks like this, because I've seen so many times too, things play out where it just kind of does this, then you get one more spike and then death. So you could take a risk on it if you want. And if you start losing these lows, I would definitely get out, because the other hard thing is it could find support into this region here, but it could also just take out all this and come trade into this as well too. So it's a tough coin to look at for sure, depending on how bullish that news is. Maybe it's worth the shot. Personally though, a structure like this, I would rather, like, yeah, you lose out on a lot, but it's a safer trade. I would just buy the breakout. instead. Because if it's going to have enough juice to keep going, I'd rather just play into the price discovery rather than hoping that this is the higher low with a high time frame structure break. But then again, this is such a low market cap coin, it can kind of do whatever it wants. But those are what I would say. Buy some here if you want. Be careful. Maybe think about getting out here, although it probably finds support here. So then you feel like an idiot for stopping out just for it to bounce. The safer play is just to wait for it to break out, in my opinion. Let's look at Cyber. So last time we were checking out Cyber because it was a new coin that launched. So we're looking at this range last time, and I was saying if we deviate below the range and get back in, you want a long. Or alternatively, if we start flipping this little area right here, you want a long as well. So we did get that deviation right here. If I go down into the lower time frame, you can see it a little bit better. So we came down pretty much right after stream. We came down, came back in and retapped it. So that's like a really clean setup. So I meant to buy right there, but as you can see, I got in a little bit higher. However, I entered in like right here, I want to say. And it came in, and then I think I ended up taking a little bit of profit around here as it approached this low time frame resistance. As soon as it started closing back below this box, I wanted it to flip. I ended up getting out of the trade, which was good because I avoided a stop loss, right? So I took maybe like half an R win, and then I went break even and got stopped out break even, and then it would have taken me out if I did nothing. So small win. However, the actual trade ended up playing out today. So we started deviating below this range like we wanted to see. And then when the ETF news came out, this thing just blasted off, and here it is at range high. I wasn't able to get back in on this one. It was just too fast for me to get back in. But I don't know if anybody really would have been able to take the trigger that we're looking for. Probably would have had to get in something lower, like if you decided that it looked good here, kind of did. So first trade on the last stream played out. We got a little bit of a win. I went out break even, saved the stop loss, and then it ended up playing out. But I did miss the second move, which is too bad because it went exactly to target, and nice 37% move. Not bad with, the way Bitcoin and Ethereum's been trading in like a small range. Next thing for Cyber, there's two trades really. Trade one is we'll look for a short now since we hit range high. If we start getting some closes, you get a close below here. You want to short the retest of it with your invalidation being the high, targeting the lows. Or if we can flip these levels, you'd want to add a new level though, because really this is kind of the resistance now. So if you can start flipping this level here, then you can long it again. But the likelihood of that playing out, I think, is lower. I think it's going to trade down lower first. So potential short on the table for Cyber. And then let's look at Bitcoin. So Grayscale won the appeal, in case you guys haven't seen the thousands of tweets about it yet. Second District Court granted Grayscale's petition for review to convert GBTC Trust into Bitcoin Spot ETF, and SEC request was vacated as of this morning. So pretty bullish news. I do want to talk about this a little bit though, because a lot of people will say news is what moves charts, and then a lot of people will say, technical analysis is what moves charts. I think it's both, right? And as you can see from last time, I was saying like there's a potential that we sweep all the way this low and then get in and you can get long. Didn't trade that low, but I did still get into this trade, and I want to show you guys exactly how, because this is exactly the fractal that I look for every single trade I took, and it played out perfectly. And we were long for the Grayscale ETF news, if you were paying attention. And then here's just me tweeting about my entry and stuff, so I'm not LARPing about it. Anyways, so let's delete this really quick. And I just want to show this to you guys just so that people can kind of learn this pretty easy trading system. So first step was we got this really nice 12-hour swing failure pattern, right? It took out this low, all these lows, and it closed above. So that's your first signal to say, okay, I want to start looking for longs, right? That's that first part that I draw. We sweep the low, okay? So that's what we just saw. And here it is on the 1 hour. Here's the low, we swept the low. Now the next step, though, is the market structure break, right? When I always draw it like this, market structure break. And it happened right here. So you could say this was the high. Looks like I took probably this high. I'll work this one because this is technically the correct one right here, in my opinion. So you just draw your line there, and you say, okay, this is the high that created the low. So I want to see an hourly close above the high. Then I got that, right? Here's the hourly close above the high. And then what you want to do is you want to bid the retest of that with your stop below the low. So basically, I ended up taking this trade, and I was in it for a few days because I came in right around here. Here's my stop. I did take some out on range highs, and then I exited the rest of it right here in this consolidation. So not the greatest risk to reward because my invalidation was pretty low, but I've been off screen a lot. Like you probably could have made it lower if you're paying attention to lower time frames, but I trade a higher time frame system, and it's easier for people who are at work and stuff like that to follow. But exactly what I always want to see played out perfectly, and it gave you the entry to get into this ETF news. I held it for a couple days, right? I was in this since Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then finally the news drops today. But still was able to catch the move. Now, what's next? So this is obviously a level of resistance, this area. I did take a small short. There's no confirmations on it. I was just gambling some of today's wins on it. If you want to be smarter about the short, you just look for the same thing. We need market structure to break, so I need to close below this low in order to short the retest of it with validation above the high. But I figure I can risk a little bit of profit since we had a win on that trade. But this is where we're trying to look for shorts anyway. There is a chance that we come up here and clean up these highs. If you're not long already, you definitely don't want to take this trade, in my opinion, unless you're on like the 5-minute time frame and you were able to catch this low somehow for continuation. I just don't think it's a smart idea. I'd rather look for two things. The short's not really even the good play. Really, I want to see price come back and test this range high at this point. So what I'm hoping for is for us to come back down here and test these levels. And if we do, I'll buy and aim for these highs if they haven't already been tagged. And if they have, probably aim for these ones up here. So that's the next trade in Bitcoin, in my opinion. Longing this support resistance split. And then if you're a DJ like me, you can take the short once we have a structure break. But it's not going to be a very good short. It's pretty crappy, to be honest. Half an R, it's such a bad trade. Okay, Ethereum. So there was some minor news, but GUI was over 100 gas this morning. Jeez. So even in the bear market, we're seeing high traffic on Ethereum, which I don't know if that's bearish or bullish for Ethereum. I feel like high gas is good for low caps because people don't want to sell for pennies, but at the same time, it's tough. I haven't been paying too much attention to Ethereum just because it's basically trading the exact same as Bitcoin and it's following it very closely. So I'd rather just pay attention to the king asset at this point. But same idea. It's in an area of resistance. We're looking for some shorts here. Looks like that's what we were looking for last time, for it to trade up here and to look for a short. Since we're moving up first, just be careful here. If you're long, I'd be taking profits. And if you're not, I'd be patient. As far as what's next for it, let's look at a higher time frame. Same idea. I want a retest of this SR level. I'll probably focus on Ethereum on the continuation play, honestly. So I would like for it to come back down, retest this level, and get long. You'll have to take profit as you enter this section, but ideally I want these highs, which it looks like I was talking about that last time too. And we can move the stop. That's not going to be invalidation anymore. Now your stop will probably be, depends on how deep we trade down, but I would look for it to be like right here below this low. But if we trade deep into it, then obviously you have these other ones to look at as well too. But Ethereum's looking pretty good. I wouldn't be FOMOing in right now because it should pull back. If it continues to go up, that sucks. We missed the trade. But then at that point, just look for shorts, right? There's always a trade to be made. You don't want to just get into something because you missed it. But yeah, Ethereum looks exactly like Bitcoin to me. Same plan. And then just for fun, since I've been trading these markets, let's look at the euro real quick. I like to trade FX pairs when crypto's boring, just because sometimes you can get some movement into it. And we have a pretty decent setup going on here. So ignore all these boxes. Maybe I'll just delete them because that move has played out already. But I like this one right here. So we're reclaiming a pretty key level right here. I do think that the draw is a bit higher on this, which would correlate with crypto pumping as well too, because it should correlate with dollar going down. GForce doesn't go over the dollar though, so I won't go over the dollar. But I think this should go higher. There's no clear trade on it for me, besides the fact that I feel like it should, if it's reclaiming this, it should trade higher, which a lot of times crypto will follow euro as well. There's also kind of this trend line to be aware of. So if that breaks, it could see a bit more too. Let me just look at something else instead of euro to see if there's something clear. One more. So this should look bearish if we're bearish on dollar, right? And it kind of does. So it's into this level of resistance here, which means the dollar should be trading down, which means our internet coins should be trading up as well. So yeah, this looks good to start taking out some lows, at least trading into these ones right here. So hopefully we get at least that, and it could even go after these ones. But these markets move a lot slower, so I would just be looking for more of a short-term play here, but that could still be a nice pump for all crypto-related assets. And then if you guys are okay with that, I wanted to go over one other coin too. So I recently bought shares. It's kind of like the competitor of Friend Tech, right? So these ones don't usually pump as hard, but it looks way too good. Charges looks great. Same as that first one that we looked at, right? FBT. Shares looks really good too, just on a lower time frame. So it's coming in and it's retesting kind of a lower high here. So I bought in right around here. Still a decent entry. Even if you were to buy this right now, we'd be getting out if we start to lose these lows, but I'm aiming for new highs on this. Again, it is the kind of stepchild of Friend.tech, so don't expect it to run as hard, but it should see some new highs soon, in my opinion, and the chart looks great. But other than that, that's it for me for this week. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, GForce, on to you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, everybody's heard about the Bitcoin news with the SEC getting slapped in the face again. This is a regular occurrence with the SEC, which is actually pretty good. I'm going to cover again the legacy markets, even though because of this big news in Bitcoin, probably nobody wants to hear about it, but I'll cover it anyway. The S&P is also up today over 1.25%. It took a jump. Basically, according to all the market news, is that there was 2 economic reports, which was job openings. That number was down less than expected, which is good news because the Fed wants the economy to slow. And then the second one was consumer confidence was also down, which is also good news for the Fed because they want people to be more pessimistic on economies. That way they can stop tightening rates. So today you look at the S&P, it jumped, started out below the black line, the standard deviation line, and it just jumped since then. It's having a great day today, and the call positions that are in the strategy, the weekly S&P 500 option strategies, they did 100% today. They're done. I'm already out on that one. So you look at basically the charts, it probably will start to go up to the upper band, the 2x band, as the 2x band starts to come down to the price range. So that movement will probably still be more upward. Friday is the unemployment report. So if the unemployment report comes in higher than expected, that there's more unemployment than they expect, the markets are going to take off. The legacy markets are going to take off even further. It might even come up to this high point we've had right here. So right now, it's a wait and see to see if it comes back to the standard deviation line and then goes back up. So I basically had this channel that I marked way back in May, and the support line of that old channel is actually coming in, and it hit right here back on Friday the 18th, and then it came back and touched it with the wick right there on the 25th, and then it's taken off since then. So this is actually looking like a really good support, and you can see that line will continue to go up. So I think the markets are going to start to head higher and probably hit the high point we've had back here in end of July, August 1. So just a reminder, everybody, that I always do daily charts. So my charts are always daily. Let's look at NASDAQ. That was the next on the list. So NASDAQ is very similar. You'll see that last week, Thursday, it jumped up, crossed the standard deviation line, the black line, came back down, and then it's just popped back up, and it's clearing this high that it had on Thursday. So same situation. So with legacy markets, they always close in a gap. So there's a gap right here back in the first part of August. So I'm expecting it to pump up to that gap. It might take a little time to get that way, but I think it'll pump up to that gap. So the news on the NASDAQ, though, is all AI. Everything's AI. Companies come in AI, NVIDIA, and all the other chip makers. So AI is basically the driver in the NASDAQ. Next is the dollar index. So I don't know if people have seen that in technical analysis reports I put in on Thursday. I put in about the Brexit announcement that they're inviting Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE, and 10 African countries as well. And so everybody said, okay, they're going to have their currency, whichever that's going to consist of, they don't know yet. So on Thursday, with that announcement, the dollar actually even popped even higher. So it went all the way to the top, which is the high we had back in June. And it's reached that, and it's retraced the last 2 days. So whether it's retracing because of crypto news or it's retracing because it's hit a new high, a recent new high, it's hard to say. Everybody has their opinions and things of that nature. So I think it's just because it hit a new high, it needs to retrace a little bit. But my point being is that even though BRICS made their announcement, the dollar still pumped higher. So I think the world's confidence on the BRICS is a little bit shaky at best because of the type of governments that represent, which is China and Russia. The last one is volatility. Now, volatility has pumped up. You can see we had some new highs. We had a high here in July, and then we had another high here in August, and then we had a third high all the way here on August 18th. So it was due to come back, and the volatility has come back, especially today. It's really tanked quite a bit, all the way hitting down into the 14 range. So the markets are getting the good news is getting complacent again. The markets are just going to drive it higher. The VIX is the fear index. So basically, if everybody's positive and feeling good about the markets, then the VIX is going to drop. If there's fear and there's issues, then the VIX is going to go up. So the good news with the VIX, at least for the S&P weekly options, is that when the VIX is down here in this channel, running down in this channel, the volatility is in the gutter and the option strategies barely work if they work. But once we're above in the 15 to 16 to 18 point range, like a couple of weeks ago, we were 5 for 5. This last week, we had a positive week again. So everything works when the VIX is above that range. So we'll see. They could go back down into 13 range, which is this baseline here, which is 1310 off the triangle. And we'll have to see how high the market goes, but it should go higher at that point. All right, that's what I have for the legacy markets. I'll hand it back over to you.
All right. That's it for this week. Remember, as a member of DeFi-Logic, you can post requests in the Daily Dose forum, and we'll review your coins, assets, and tradable proxies in the next call. Also, DeFi-Logic members interested in alpha testing our ETH spot indicator and new XRP strategy developed by Cryptics, the service is free until we launch. Additionally, DeFi-Logic is a freemium service for all members that join prior to public launch. As an early member, you'll gain free lifetime access to the server and steep discounts on other products and services we develop in the future. Thanks for joining. We'll see you at 12 p.m. Mountain Time next Tuesday. GM friends.
Join us next week in Discord for TA at DeFiLogic.com.